Morocco is full of stunning landscapes, vibrant Medinas, and a rich history and culture. We share our essential do's and don'ts that we learned during our 40-day visit here to help you make the most of your Moroccan adventure. I'm Judy.
And I'm Kevin. Welcome back to Finding Gina Marie, where we share our lives as full-time travelers and the connections we make along the way.
We spent a total of 40 days in Morocco, experiencing Marrakech, Fes, and the Sahara Desert, and we learned so much. We're here to share with you all of the do's and don'ts that we learned along the way so that when you visit, you'll have a great experience.
And we have 3 more videos coming that have all the details, costs, and everything that we experienced in all 3 places, so subscribe so you don't miss any of them.
Our first and number 1 tip is to get cash as soon as you arrive. You'll need it. Although there are some restaurants that will accept credit cards, we found that cash is king in this country, and we needed to use cash at least half of the time that we were here.
And most ATMs are only allowing you to get out 2,000 dirhams, which is about $200 US. So if you think you're going to spend more than that, plan ahead and make sure you can visit multiple times.
Most of our meals were significantly less than 200 dirham per person, which means that you're paying less than $40 for 2 people to eat out.
And you do want to have coins and small bills. They love to say, can I have a smaller bill when you're even checking out at a restaurant? But you want to break some bills because the cash machines give out 200 dirham bills and you're going to be spending like 20 dirhams or 12 dirhams on things. So get small coins and small bills whenever you can.
Don't worry about getting a visa if you're part of the long list of visa-exempt passport holders who don't need one, as long as you aren't staying more than 90 days. Just use the official website to confirm if you need a visa or not. It's quick, and the link is included in our description below.
And don't drink the tap water in Morocco. Bottled water is very inexpensive. We're buying 1.5 liter bottles, usually 2 at a time, and each one of those is only 6 dirham, which is about 60 cents US.
Do tip your waiter. There is a tipping culture in Morocco, and while you're not obligated, especially in restaurants, to tip your waiter, it's a very nice thing to do. We typically gave a 10% tip, and sometimes it could be a little confusing because you don't typically get your bill at your table and you have to pay downstairs or somewhere, but try to do the math in advance. You can leave a tip on your table if you do know how much you want to leave. Otherwise, there's a tip box at the cash register, or afterwards you can just find your waiter and give him cash then.
A lot of times they walk downstairs with you anyway to let them know what table number you're at, so it usually works out. There's always a way to get the tip across. And do visit more than one city when you're in Morocco. We found that Marrakech and Fes are great choices. Even the Medina in both of those places was radically different. So definitely worthwhile to get 2 or more visions of what Morocco's like.
Casablanca is often a convenient place to arrive, but it's an industrial city. So if you feel like you need to explore while you're there, it really doesn't need very much of your time. We were much happier spending time in Marrakech and Fes.
And we did like that we stayed in Fes after Marrakech because it seemed like a more chill environment, more relaxed. And even the Medina was a little bit easier for us just to wander through because there were less motorcycles and things. You'll see all those kind of details in our upcoming videos. We'll show all the good and the bad of each.
You don't need more than a week in each location. Although we're slow travelers and we wanted to give ourselves enough time to really be comfortable here, we didn't need a full 40 days.
In fact, some people were asking, you spent 3 weeks in Marrakech? Like, yeah, but we're also doing YouTube videos, so it's not like we're just looking around the city the whole time. But if all you're doing there is visiting things, you can definitely fit that into a week.
And even in Fes, when we were there for 18 days, we felt like that was probably a little too much. Although we were very comfortable in Fes and highly recommend it. But don't shortchange your time here either. We were very glad to have been able to really immerse ourselves in the history and the culture and the food. So give yourself more than just a few days.
And do pick a central area of the Medina that you're in to get the most out of your stay in the city. We found that different ends of the Medina can give you different experiences, radically different experiences. So you want to pick the spot where you're not going to feel like you're so far away that you're exhausted just getting out of your section to see the things that are in the better section.
We specifically loved the area that we were in Fes, which is near the Blue Gate. So we highly recommend that.
Yeah, we were on the east side of the Medina in Marrakech, and that was really the wrong side because everything was in the central or west or northwest side. So if you stay on the northwest side, it's a little bit more expensive, but there are some more cushy options and maybe some nicer riads.
Do pick the right riad. They will have a variety of different experiences, and you want to choose the one that's going to serve you best. Riads are typically elegant homes that have been repurposed to be bed and breakfasts. They're usually 2 or 3 stories tall, and they have an inner courtyard, and all of the rooms will face into that inner area.
The way they're designed can be very different. Some have like plants on the inner courtyard, some have fountains, some have even pools in there, and some of the upper areas are very different. Your room may have a bathroom attached. You may be sharing a bathroom. There may be a bathroom down the hall that's your private one. But they're all very different and they're all very unique. And if you want to have an upstairs terrace experience, you want to take a good look at that in the photos and everything else they give you before rental, because those are very different too. Our first one, it really wasn't that functional and it was no coverage. So if you want to sit up there, it can't be a hot sunny day or you're going to sweat. And the one we had in Fes was covered, very comfortable, away from the area where they hang clothing. So check it out.
With a beautiful view.
Yeah, with
yes.
a beautiful view. Check it out because they're all very different, and know what you're going to get before you walk into them.
And even though it may take a little bit more time to pick the right one, we highly recommend staying in a riad over a hotel. You're going to have a much more local experience, which we think will give you a more authentic taste of Morocco.
Yeah. You want to wake up in a Hilton somewhere that you don't even know what city you're in? No, riads are really cool. And remember, Morocco's on the edge of the Sahara Desert, so it's going to be hot. You don't want to be here in the heat of the summer, especially when you're trying to wander through a Medina or someplace that's very sunny and dusty. So we've enjoyed our time in September and October. October's even been a little bit better because we're in Fes. The temperature seemed to be a couple degrees cooler, and there's a little more shade in Fes. So I've been enjoying it a lot in October.
But bear in mind that October is considered peak season, so you'll want to make sure that you book everything ahead of time that you can, so you have best selection, especially the Sahara Desert tour if you're planning to go on, which we think you must. But at the same time, be aware that there's going to be a lot more people here. Shoulder season runs from late February to April, and also from late October through November. And that's going to give you moderate weather without the crowds.
And do enjoy the local cuisines of each city. Tagines and couscous are very common on the menus. And when I say couscous, I don't mean just the actual pasta rice itself. I mean, it's a whole meal with vegetables and meats and everything else. My favorite tagine was tagine kefta, which are little meatballs, tomato sauce, and eggs. And they come in this little mini oven that is piping hot. So when they lift that lid, sit back a little bit, it sprays. And a lot of these restaurants have rooftop dining, which is very popular because when you're on the streets, it can feel hot and stale. You don't get a lot of breezes with all the twisty, turny roads. But once you get up to the rooftop, amazingly, you get these nice breezes. And as long as they have umbrellas, keep you out of the sun, or they give you little hats that you get to wear when you're up there, it's wonderful. It's a great experience.
Do be prepared that people will know how to speak to you in English and in French. Although Morocco feels very exotic, there's a lot of tourism here, and a lot of locals then have learned English and French.
And they're usually more fluent in other languages too. It's amazing how many languages they speak in Morocco, and I felt a little humbled by that. And don't fall for the friendly guys who are offering you directions or stay to the side of the road. Do you need help with something? Where are you from? Do you know where the tannery is? You're going the wrong way. The market's over this way. They're always trying to give you some advice so that they can follow along with you or lead you, and then they'll expect some money if they've given you directions or help with any assistance at all.
Now, at the same time, we had plenty of people who were trying to direct us who didn't expect money at all. But you don't know which of those people you're going to encounter. So be friendly, but at the same time, just be wary. Likewise, you want to be cautious, especially around the Blue Gate. We found a lot of people who claimed that they were tour guides. Well, you have to be a licensed tour guide to escort tourists, and they are not people waiting in the squares to find people. So say thank you, no, be wary, because they likely are going to try to take you to their friends' establishments and kind of make you feel obligated to buy something that maybe you never intended to.
So the lesson is plan your tours ahead of time. Don't take the ad hoc tours with anybody that just shows up in front of you. And do take off your outdoor footwear when you go into your riad or into your private rooms, because Even though they try to keep the streets clean, you'll see them squirting water on them and sweeping a lot. They're still pretty dirty. There's dust all the time, and little gifts like donkey droppings that happen to be all over the place. And they clean those up, but you know how hard it is to clean everything.
Just to avoid germs coming into your room, it just makes sense to leave them right outside your door.
Now, some people have indoor shoes when they're inside the Riad, and that's very popular too. So you might have 2 pairs of shoes, inside and outside. Keep them separate.
Do plan to bargain if you're interested in buying anything in the souks, which basically are the marketplaces in Morocco. Typically, they should offer a price first, and you should probably negotiate starting at about a third of what that price is. And at the end of things, you should probably end up around 40 to 60% of the initial starting value. It can be very fun, but you should not be trying to get the lowest bargain price that you can. If you can afford to pay a little bit more, that would be a generous thing to do. People are just trying to make a living and feed their families.
Yeah, I'm not really good at this stuff, but the one guy was telling us, yeah, if you just walk up and you say a price, they don't like it, you start to walk away, they'll come back with another price. They're expecting that. And if they don't feel like they're going to get enough money out of it, they won't sell it to you, and you don't have to pay more than you want. So there's a science and an art to it that I'm not really good at, but a lot of people are getting some good deals, and there's really nice products. You just have to, know how to work it.
At the same time, you do not really negotiate prices at restaurants or with many of the food stands. Sometimes food stands may negotiate, but there's not really the margin in food items than there is in the regular goods.
Yeah, food is really cheap here in Morocco. And do be polite when people are asking you to come into their shop and take a look at their things. They're going to do that because they see you walking by. You may pause to look, and they'll say, hey, come on in, I'll show you a few things. They may even be a little more aggressive and guide you in, and it's fine. Look at their stuff. Sometimes it's very interesting to learn about it, but then say no thank you. They'll be fine with that too. It's just, this is how they feed their family. So just be gracious.
You can never go wrong by just treating people with kindness. Remember, after all, you're a guest in their country. Do remember that Morocco is a conservative Muslim country. It's pretty progressive in a lot of ways, so people will understand that you are a tourist. They won't necessarily expect you to be dressed as conservatively as Muslims are, but at the same time, be mindful of how much skin you're showing. I typically wore tank tops, and my dresses weren't always covering my knees, and it was fine. But at the same time, don't wear bra tops and midriff-bearing clothes. Still try to be as respectful as you can. Women don't really need to wear a headscarf, which typically are things that you would wear inside a mosque. But if you're not Muslim, you're really not allowed in any of the mosques except for one of them in Casablanca.
Don't take pictures of people without asking their permission. A lot of the vendors and a lot of the merchants do not want their picture taken. They even might not want pictures taken of their products. So be polite about that, ask first. And if you're in one of the squares, especially ones that have the snake charmers and people that are performing, they're going to want you to pay for pictures of them. That's their business. They're doing something to get your attention, to get you to point the camera at them, and then they'll hold out their hand. So just don't expect people to be happy that you're taking a picture of them.
Do plan to do a lot of walking when you are in Morocco, but don't be afraid to use public transportation if you need that as well. We'd suggest avoid renting a car. There are trains that will take you between major cities. You can also rent a grand taxi that you can negotiate a price for as well. We chose to take tours that would get us from one city to another, even for day trips, and that worked out really well.
Inside the Medina, you're really going to just be on foot most of the time. There are taxis that come into the Medina and then take you to other parts of the city. In Fes, we found that the petite taxis, which are little red taxis, are great. They're just outside the Blue Gate, easy to find. In Marrakech, the main squares have a lot of taxis showing up. You'll be sitting there eating a meal and you'll just see all the taxis pull up. So they're not hard to find.
If you're interested in going between the Medina and the new city, especially in Fez, you'll take petite taxis, but you'll want to negotiate the price in advance. They're typically around 20 dirham. I would say when you walk in, you'd expect to pay 10 dirham, and it's probably an extra dirham for each minute that you're in the vehicle.
And I was surprised when you were texting me saying that during your taxi ride, you weren't alone in the cab.
Right, I got into an empty cab, but along the way there were 3 or 4 different passengers that got in and got out that were along the path that I was on. So don't really expect that there's going to be a meter. You want to negotiate in advance because obviously those little detours could add up to a little bit of money. We didn't take them, but there are 2 different bus services that offer premium service that you can also take, CTM and Super Tours. And they actually have different classes of service on the buses. They're very nice, convenient. We'll put a link to both of them so that you know more about them.
And as we mentioned earlier, do make sure you have small bills or change. And the coins are really kind of important when you're going even to a bathroom that may be public. There's going to be somebody there that may be handing out toilet paper. You want the small coins like a 5 or 10 dirham coin. 20 dirham coins are also very popular, but you may not even want to spend that much when you're at these little tiny tip spots. So as much as you can, carry the change around.
You may also want to carry some tissues with you because there aren't always attendants and there isn't always toilet paper in some of the public restrooms in the places that you'll be visiting. Do take time to appreciate the people and the culture of Morocco. It may feel a little bit outside your comfort zone to be walking by the souks and having people constantly ask if you want to buy something, or people who are holding out their hand or trying to offer you directions that you didn't ask for. At the same time, realize that they're really trying to be friendly and helpful. Yes, sure, some of them are trying to earn money, but for the most part, we have found the people of Morocco to be really, really lovely people.
Don't expect Morocco to be a budget destination. It's not one of the cheapest countries we've visited. Unfortunately, when you want to stay in a nicer Riad or a nicer area of the Medina, you're going to pay more, and that seemed to be where the majority of our costs are. We could eat fairly cheaply. You know, you can go out to dinner and basically pay for 2 people to have a nice meal for under 200 dirham, so under $20. But a lot of your living costs for actually being here might be elevated.
And we did spend $30 and $40 and even $60 or more, I think, on one of our meals.
We had dessert and drinks.
And it was an international restaurant, which will cost a bit more than having tagine. And just be prepared that although it's budget friendly, it's not the cheapest destination.
We have a whole video coming up about this, but don't go on large group tours when you're going through the Sahara. We had a private tour and it was wonderful. You'll see all the details soon. But the people that went on group tours have warned us it wasn't the experience we had. And when we talked about ours, they were like, no, that we were rushed. We were hurried. There was so many people. It's like, yeah, skip those. Do something special for that short time you have in the Sahara Desert.
But we highly recommend that you go on one of those tours. And our video will tell you all of the things that you need to know so that you can set up the best experience. We hope you've enjoyed this video and we thank you so much for watching. You're not going to want to miss the rest of our videos from Morocco, so stay tuned, subscribe if you haven't already. And the best compliment that you can give to us is to recommend our videos to your friends and family.
And check out findingginamarie.com where you're going to see all our other videos, information about us, downloads, and our community forum.
Until next time.
Until next time.